Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone to the Town of Lexington Council Work Session this evening, September 16th, 2024. Work sessions are less formal business meetings that enable council to obtain and discuss information regarding town issues from staff, members, and/or consultants. Like regular meetings of council, citizens are encouraged to attend and observe work sessions. However, they do not include public hearings, but do allow for public comment at the end of the work session unless otherwise called on by council. Please note speakers are limited to 3 minutes and a timer will be set. Council does not take an action vote on items during a work session other than to vote to place an item on the council meeting for consideration. In an official vote, council work sessions are streamed live on town's YouTube channel, and minutes are taken and posted on the town's webpage following approval of council. I am Hazel Livingston, the mayor of the town of Lexington. I would like to introduce my fellow council members. To my left is Mayor Pro Tem Ron Williams.
Good evening.
To his left is Council Member Todd Lyle.
Good evening.
To his left is Council Member Jenny Michaels. Good evening. To my right is Council Member Todd Carnes.
Good evening.
And to his right is Council Member Gavin Smith.
Good evening.
And to his right is Council Member Will Allen.
Good evening.
Council Member Smith will lead us in our invocation tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we pause this evening to say thank you. Thank you for the blessings you bestowed and continue to bestow on our community. Thank you for allowing us to serve our community, and thank you for the wonderful citizens who call our community home. As we begin our meeting this evening, we just ask for wisdom to make decisions that are best for our community, and just to continue to make Lexington the greatest place to live, learn, worship, and raise a family. So we say all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Councilmember Allen, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now call the meeting to order. Council met in executive session prior to this meeting where we discussed the following matters: 2 contractual issues related to the Old Mill Trail, contractual economic development issues involving an in-town property, discussion regarding potential sale of property, town property, and advice regarding agenda items. No vote was taken. Do I hear a motion to ratify this report?
So moved.
Councilman Carnes makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Mayor, I just will say that we will be going back into executive session
After
most
this.
likely
Okay.
after this meeting.
Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. And it is unanimous. Are there any deletions from tonight's agenda? None? The first presentation is from Assistant Town Administrator Stuart Ford, update regarding credit card payment processes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Just want to give a very brief update on our credit card processing and the transactional fee that will be instituted on the 1st of October that we've talked about during our budget process and a couple of times since. On September 9th, the town of Lexington went with a new processor for our credit card payments. That's Chase Bank. This was done as we worked with our software provider for our accounting software in order to make us what is known as PCI compliant. And what that basically means is these are standards that the purchasing card industry has put in place to ensure the security of our customers' information and their customers' information. And so that was a big step for us. But it also put in place some restrictions on us that changed the way we do our business. And so since we've made that change, we've took some time to inform those that have been impacted by the change. And what that means is some of our contractors and some of our businesses and some individuals who take out business license or building permits or want to rent a facility will notice a change in the procedures. They'll have the opportunity now to go onto our website and make the payment online, and the town will not have to be involved in that. So it'll be secure for them. They'll be going to on our website, lexsc.gov. If you go to the area that says, "How do I?" and you look for online payments, and then there are a number of options, including Easy Pay, which if you go in there, you can pay your water bill, your utility bill, and then there are other options too. And so this has been made aware to our contractors and others that this is how this process works. That's an important step because we want to do everything we can to protect our customers and to protect data integrity. And so that's a positive step for everyone. We also are implementing a fee for using credit cards. Everyone knows that the credit cards companies charge a fee for the convenience of you being able to use your credit card, and the retailers pay that fee and that cost. In our environment, one of the things that we've noticed over the years is if someone's making a tax payment, for example, and there's a fee associated with that, then that fee is effectively being paid by other taxpayers who don't choose to use their credit card, who would write a check for it. There's an inequity there. And so we're going to begin to recover those costs for the folks that are using the credit cards, but we also want to make clear that you're not required to pay by credit card. There are easy available options other than using a credit card to avoid paying a fee. So let me just cover those real quickly. Now the fee is going to be 3% beginning October 1st. But if you pay, of course, in person, pay by cash, check, cashier's check, certified check, money order, you can pay at our front desk, you can pay through the drive-through. There's no fee associated with that. If you like to be traditional and mail in a check with your payment, for your payment, there's no fee associated with that. We also have an overnight drop box that's been around for many years that people still use and can avoid fees. But we all know that we live in a world of convenience and online payments. And so there is opportunity to avoid the fee if you become one of our many customers like myself who have bank drafts every month automatically taken out. There's no fee for that associated with a bank draft. What in the new parlance with Chase is known as an e-check. So if you have not signed up for that method, look online and find the forms or on the back of your bill and take advantage of that opportunity. It's very convenient. But also if you go online to pay, you'll be able to use an e-check at that moment when you're interacting with our system. So you'll be given that opportunity, and that will avoid using a credit card and the credit card fee. You'll have the option, as it's been explained to me, that you can make that a one-time or you can make that a recurring e-check and avoid fees from the town of Lexington. That option for using e-checks in our portal is only available for utility billing right now, but we hope and we believe that very soon, and hopefully by the 1st of October, for all of the other payments, we will have that convenience available. That's just a matter of working through the process with the vendors. We know that this is a big change and it impacts a lot of our customers, but we think it's necessary out of equity and fairness to all of our customers to implement this. But we wanted to do it in a way that is convenient and easy for our customers to make the transition. If folks have questions, they should certainly feel free to reach out to our customer service. Any of us here would be glad to try to help. You can find information on the website about the bank draft program or you can touch base with our customer service folks here at Town Hall. So that's just a brief update, and we have been very pleased with the transition to Chase. It requires new processes to be in place, but our finance folks and IT folks have worked through those issues, and we'll work through any issues that arise with the transaction fee that comes about in a couple
Sister,
of
we
weeks.
don't need to take a vote or anything on
No,
this.
ma'am, this is
for
just-
information.
it's
Does
just
anybody
information.
have any questions?
Yes, ma'am, I do. So Stuart, you said you could find the forms on the back of your water bill. What about us folks that get it electronically? We get our bills electronically, so there's no hand form given us. Is that on the,
You should be able to go online and get the form
okay,
on our website. And, like traditionally, you have to send in the voided check, that kind of thing.
okay, thank you.
We would encourage folks to double check and make sure that their bank draft is an actual bank draft, is not a credit card draft, just so that there's not a chance that you would be charged a fee. If you have the bank draft each month, there will be no fee.
So Stuart, has this fee already gone in, starting in the process? Has it already started?
We're not collecting a fee right now. We will begin on the 1st of October, and we wanted to make sure that all of the transition related to the Chase Bank change is working seamlessly.
Anybody else have any other questions?
I had
Thank
just
you.
one very briefly. Stuart, is this any different than any other utility around?
Many utilities, Lexington County as well, especially in a tax collection environment, charges a fee for doing that. And so it's not terribly unusual.
The fee is the same fee that the bank is charging us to utilize the system. So we're not really charging a fee, we're just passing along a fee that
We're shifting the cost to the user, that's right.
we're no longer paying that fee for the convenience of the customer.
Correct.
That's good with me. We should have done that a long time ago.
Thank you, sir.
Our next item is, I lost myself. An Environmental Protection Agency, EPA lead and copper requirements from utilities, David Weidman.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm just going to give a quick update on the lead and copper rule revisions. December 2021, the EPA announced next steps to strengthen the existing lead and copper rule. This included having to complete an entire service line inventory to include what we know about our customers' lines. So that's all of our water mains and all of the service lines coming off the mains to the house. This inventory is due October 16th of this year. Our water supervisor, Dan Crouch, began pulling this information together once we were notified, and we have that substantially complete. We're doing a few one-offs, new roads that are being added to our inventory, things like that. The inventory of service lines is divided into 4 categories. Category 1, those that contain lead. Category 2, galvanized requiring replacement, known as GRR. Category 3, lead status unknown. And then Category 4, no lead, that we can confirm. We are targeting a submission date to the regulators of October 4th. We will then notify our customers of which category they fall into within 30 days of notifying the regulators as required. The notification must also include an explanation of the health effects of lead and steps residents can take to reduce exposure. So all of that's going to be in the letters that we send out. Right now, the rough drafts are completed and they're effectively 2-page letters. New customers will need to be updated upon service initiation. So anyone coming in, applying for service, we're going to have to notify them right then, have letters. Sounds simple, but we're going to have to coordinate our inventory. So wherever they're applying to live, we're going to have to coordinate that. We are also planning to put this information on the utilities page of our website with a link to our transparency page, as well as on our kiosk out by the customer service, hard copies, so anyone who comes in, applies for service, we can direct them right to the kiosk. We are also investigating whether we can set up a designated phone number with automated information so that they can call and get information automated. I will note that the letters we are sending out are going to have links to EPA, CDC, companies that have approved lead testing methods that they can do at home. So there's going to be a lot of information in these letters. And I will, a little bit down the line, give you those letters so you can review them. All of the customers will receive annual updates going forward until such time as they fall into the no lead category. So once we notify them that their residence has no lead, they will come off the annual update list. By year's end, we have to complete a list of all schools and daycare facilities served by our water system that were constructed prior to 2014. Sounds pretty easy until you start thinking about all the different churches that have daycares and all the rest of it. So it's going to take a little bit of hunting, but we'll have that list down. Beginning in 2025, we will have to perform lead and copper sampling at all elementary schools and child care facilities within 5 years. We can do no less than 20% of that sampling per year until all facilities are sampled. Secondary schools will have to be sampled upon request. So if they request sampling, we'll go out and we'll sample that. Further actions will be determined by the results of that sampling. So if we have any hot spots with lead, then we'll fall into criteria that the EPA set for notification and action. Finally, the EPA has noted that the goal will be 100% replacement of the lead, GRR, and unknown service lines. The EPA intends to propose requirements that, along with other actions, would replace all lead service lines as quickly as feasible, unquote. There's going to be further guidance given by the EPA. As of yet, we don't have a deadline. It's expected to be within 10 years of submitting our inventory list. So I guess I'll close by saying that I'm going to provide regular updates to the council as we go along and keep you updated as we move forward. And I also included a couple EPA fact sheets that have the laws that I just summarized, if you'd like to go see them for the next update.
And Rachel, you said y'all would bring back the list before he sent out the letter?
Yes, ma'am. Once we've completed our study, because it's not yet done, David will come back and report to council what the findings were. Fairly high level. That'll be at the October work session, and that will be before the letters go out.
Okay.
Yep, so we would expect at that time to have percentages of the different categories as it relates to our residents, and also allow you to look at the letters themselves.
Could you at that time also let us know what projects are already planned in the works for, even before you do this, that was already on the books?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, I think maybe our three core functions, we have a lot, but our biggest ones are we provide people water, we provide them a sewer, chance to get rid of their waste, and we provide them police protection, along with a lot of other things. So water, quality control of our water. We talk about basically delineating this entire system. Sometimes some of these pipes are 80 or 100 years old. But what is the current quality control measures we have for our water that goes to our customers? I know we have ongoing testing, and
We do.
here EPA is calling on ramped up lead and copper testing. But can you just delineate for us, like, what's the current testing that we have to ensure that we're pushing out safe water to our customers? Certainly, maybe as it enters the system, but I would assume that we have some testing locations throughout the system. Obviously, I don't know what that is. Can you give us
Yeah,
a
we do.
10,000-foot view of that?
Yep, we do. We currently do lead and copper testing. So it's basically a percentage of the system. We go out. We have residents that volunteer. They're part of the process. They're educated on the proper sampling techniques. When we go around, we meet them. We leave bottles. They take first draw samples. We collect them, submit them to the state, and then we get the results back. I'm proud to say that all of our sampling has been good to this point. There are some old lines, as you mentioned. Those are the areas that we want to get rid of. Some of them, the lines themselves are fine, but historically they used to have lead goosenecks that would connect them. How many of those are left, I'm not entirely sure, but that's part of these projects going out. A lot of this sampling is based on, regulation came in 1986 banning the use of lead. So if you have a home that was built after 1986, we are safely able to assume that you have no lead in that house. That's going to adversely impact you. If there's a period of time where, copper lines, for example, in your homes, they used to use lead solder, now they don't. So we're going to have to educate the consumers, go take a look in your own houses as well. Do you have lead solder, or are they using modern means? A lot of the modern subdivisions that are going in, they use PEX.
Right. So,
Things
but
like
just
that,
so I
so-
understand, in layman's terms, like, we currently have a system-wide random distribution of testing that's ongoing.
We do.
At all times, and we're already testing for lead, copper, and probably a variety of other things.
Correct.
And there's certain thresholds that have to be met, benchmarks we have to meet. And thus far, our system meets those thresholds. It's just an acceleration and maybe an elimination of these things.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
We look forward to hearing back from you. Item number 3 of presentations is introduction of the first Town of Lexington Youth Ambassadors members. Economic Development, Jack Stewart.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm very excited to present the inaugural class of the Lexington Youth Ambassador Program we have with us here tonight. So this is a program that is made up of 12 high school seniors from the Lexington area, all the different varying schools, and they went through an application and interview process. They've been added to this program, and they will graduate in April before their actual high school graduation. But and this program is going to take them through town hall and everything that we do here as we function as a governing body, as well as there'll be a service project component to this as well that they'll be able to graduate and keep with them on their resume as they move forward. So without further ado, I do want to kind of go through the names here. So going down the list, I want to start with Riley Bleakley, who's from River Bluff High School. So I think the mayor may know her.
I might know her.
Yeah. Second is Inwoo Choi, who is also from River Bluff High School. Caroline Ford, who also might be a familiar face to some folks. She's from Lexington High School. Kaylee Haig, also from River Bluff High School. Andrew Hancock from River Bluff. We have Malia Hodges as well from River Bluff. Luke Johnson from River Bluff.
I feel like I'm in a gator swamp.
Yeah, there's a lot of gators here. Yeah. We have Bryn Palm from ALA.
There we go.
There we go. Little diversities in schools. Ella Poles from River Bluff. We have Bella Grace Wally. Johanna Watson. And we have Sienna Woodley as well. So there we go. So they wanted to come see their first council meeting. This has been their first council meetings. So, and you will see them again in April for graduation.
So did you tell them one of them gets tased and one of them gets attacked by the dog in the
They'll
police
find that out
department?
at
Okay,
the next
good.
meeting. Yeah, next meeting is at police. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank y'all, and thank y'all for doing this. We're very excited about what y'all bring forward to tell us. Any of y'all have anything to say?
I know some of them have sports or something to get to, so.
Okay.
Stuart needs a ride home.
Okay, moving into the business items. First item of business is from Town Administrator Rachel Gleaton, discussion of a noise ordinance modification.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item is on the agenda tonight for your consideration. This was brought to me by the police department, and Brad has also weighed in on this. I've provided for you a copy of the town noise ordinance as well in your packet for reference. We currently don't have a provision for discharging of fireworks. It's simply silent on the matter, and we have our quiet hours, which begin at 9 p.m., although the police department does allow for a 1-hour courtesy, so effectively 10 p.m. Traditionally, during holidays where fireworks are shot, New Year's, 4th of July, et cetera, the police department has used discretion when enforcing the noise ordinance, and they've traditionally enforced along the same lines as the county, which can sometimes be difficult for our residents to understand. We all run into folks that think they live in town or they don't think they live in town, and it can be confusing for some residents when they're advised by either us or the county. And so in order to be more uniform and to reduce the amount of discretion and clarify our ordinance, the police department would like you to consider making a couple changes to our noise ordinance. They've done extensive research of the communities throughout Lexington County, and just about everyone has specific provisions for fireworks. So what they're proposing you all consider for incorporation is something similar to what the county does, specifically for New Year's Eve into New Year's Day, 4th of July, Memorial Day, and Diwali. And we would like those holidays specifically considered. You could also consider any other holidays. Sometimes people incorporate Chinese New Year. There was another holiday that Memorial Day was on there. Yeah, there was another holiday that has escaped my mind. The county includes Christmas as well as some additional days around the 4th of July, but our police department isn't asking for you to consider that. You're certainly welcome to tack on anything else that you would like to, you think is important. So I'm opening this up for discussion for you all. We can make changes quite easily to our noise ordinance because it's an ordinance and it would take 2 readings. If we brought it back in October, we could have second reading in November, which allows us more than enough time for effectiveness for the New Year's Eve holiday. So I'll turn it over for any discussion, and Chief is here.
Before we start discussion, do I hear a motion to put it on the agenda? We usually get a motion in a second, and then we discuss it, and we vote whether to put it on there or not. So do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Jenny makes the motion. Do I hear a second? For discussion purposes?
I'll second that for discussion purposes.
For discussion purposes. Now I'll open it up for discussion.
Do we have this written down?
What?
I'm sorry.
We did not provide red lines to our current noise ordinance,
Okay.
if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
No, sir, we don't. I provided the existing ordinance as backup documentation, and some of the suggested verbiage is in the cover sheet.
Okay.
But we did not overlay it. It would likely be, Brad identified an easy area for us to make an amendment under exceptions. We would likely just list the holidays.
And the bottom line is we're going, not sure how crazy I am about 1:30 a.m.
And I understand, we've provided the county as an example. We certainly don't have to follow it to the T.
Madam Mayor.
Yes,
Couldn't
go
tell you
ahead.
last time I was awake at 1:30.
It's just one night.
Chief, this may be a question for you. Including it for January 1st, and I may not get this right, but it was one of the most recent years that kids went back to school on January 2nd. So being that this falls into January 1st, I don't love the idea of allowing that. I get that you need it on New Year's Eve going into New Year's Day, but at 10 o'clock p.m. on January 1st, if kids are getting ready for school on January 2nd, I don't love that we're giving that exception because fireworks, let's be real, is something that keeps kids up. So are you asking particularly for that
We came to
evening?
administration because we're getting a lot of calls in reference to fireworks and the noise ordinance. Like during 4th of July, 42% of those calls were noise complaints from fireworks. On New Year's Day, we had a 22% call increase just on noise on fireworks. We wanted so that because we got people calling and we see on the CAD, what is our noise ordinance? And it's pretty much 9 o'clock, you're supposed to stop shooting fireworks. You and I know people are not going to shoot fireworks. And all it's going to do is have officers going from one call to this call on fireworks when we are not going to real calls such as our domestics, yada, yada, yada. So we're asking for some clearance on the law if there is an exception that could be placed so we could tell the people, tell the citizens, hey, there's an exception for New Year's Day and Christmas Day, and that's what we're asking for.
So is it 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. now?
No, it's 9 p.m.,
Okay.
but we give an hour grace period because we want to be there at 9:15 enforcing the noise ordinance. Then people will say we're not fair. So we give an hour afterwards with the noise ordinance.
Mayor, that section that you're referencing is an example of Lexington County's
Oh, okay,
ordinance.
okay.
And then Councilman Smith, I understand what you're saying, and I think the way it's listed here, the county's example is it runs through 1:30 a.m. on the 1st.
On the
So
1st.
I don't think that also infers then you continue shooting all day into the evening on the 1st.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that was clarified because, and I get that technically that would be January 2nd. But I could see how someone gets confused. So I just want to make sure that was clear. And I concur with Councilmember Lyle that I do not love 1:30 a.m.
I don't love 1:30 either.
Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead, Will.
the only thing I would like to say is, given the big confusion is based on whether or not they live in the town, as much as we can mimic what the county's doing, that would make logical sense to me. Because if the county's saying 1:30 and we're saying, 12:30, well, are they living in the town or the county? That's where it kind of gets pick a unit, if that makes sense. So my opinion would be try to match what county's doing as best as we can.
Why don't we bring the county down to 12?
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Chief, those calls that you guys get, because I'm in a neighborhood and I don't know what percentage, but there's a lot of people who would like for us to outlaw fireworks altogether, right? So the calls that we get on these days, though, are these people calling at 8 and 9 o'clock, or are they calling at 11 and 12
We did it
o'clock?
from 10 to 1. And those are the calls we got from 10 to 1. And those were the percentages we got of other calls, like I said, on 4th of July, 42% of our calls we were going to answer, and some people
From 10 to 1 a.m., 42%. Yeah, because I was just wondering if they were going to be against it at all. So that being the case, I would, because we do publish it every year. We go, listen, we have an ordinance, but we're gonna give a grace period, and I see that go out every year. So I would I would concur that, I think 11 PM is a good stopping number on these holidays that we have listed. I do concur. I don't see a lot of people doing it on Christmas. So you got July 4th, Memorial Day, Diwali, and then January 1st. I concur with the gentleman who've already spoken. I think on New Year's Eve, like you got to get past 12, but 12:30, if you want to do it there, you go to the county. Go to the country. The 1:30 is late. So I would go for a 12:30 on New Year's Eve, only 11 on everything else.
Okay, so you're making that in form of a change to the motion for this ordinance?
The motion is for
Absolutely.
discussion only.
Well, I mean, you gotta still put it on there. And you could vote to do it as is, or you can vote to amend it.
I'll make a well, since we did that, we have to rescind the earlier motion.
Can we not, we can just make a motion to put on the agenda?
Can we amend the motion?
We can amend it, can't we? We can amend the motion. You can amend the motion and then vote for it. So you can amend
So
this motion, you can amend and then we vote.
So,
on it.
Madam Mayor, I would vote to amend the previous motion to rewrite the ordinance such that the noise ordinance would allow for fireworks until 11 PM on the July 4th holiday, on Memorial Day, on Diwali, and allow for fireworks up to 12:30 AM of the following day on New Year's Eve, and everything else remain as is.
So you wanna leave Christmas as is?
I'm not making a motion for any allowances on Christmas.
What about the 3rd and 5th of July?
I'm not making any allowances on that, just in my motion.
Okay.
I think
Todd
July-
amended it.
I'll second it.
When you motion, Councilmember Smith seconds it. Anybody else want to have any input?
Is there any rush? This is the next, December 24th and 5th is the next.
No, there is no rush. So if we brought it for
Can you-
first reading in November, second reading in December, it would be in place by New Year's Eve. Although
Well,
the
you,
Wally is actually at the end of October this year, 10/31 to 11/1. We would not have it passed for that holiday. But we could have it as early as October, but we could bring it in November.
but you wouldn't want to wait to the last minute to educate people either, so you would need it passed beforehand if we were going to try to educate.
If I may, I guess my question is, so we're now shifting it to where the town's ordinances are going to be drastically different than what the counties are? Because that feels like it's getting away from the point, which is that there's no confusion for people who don't know if they live in the town or the county.
I think what we're assuming is that the people who live in the town live in neighborhoods that desire to be more restrictive than what the county is, which is generally the case when it comes to noise, guns, all kinds of things, that town's generally more restrictive because people are closer together in tighter spaces.
This actually gets us more in line with what the county's doing. Right now, we are polar opposites, so this gets us closer. If you look at it from that perspective.
Stuart can tell you.
Because technically, right now, we have no exception is the whole point. So technically, they could just arrest whoever they wanted to at 10 o'clock right now.
Potentially.
I think there's some prosecutorial discretion that's been utilized over the I don't think we,
I think Chief has always done a great job with that. So is there any other discussion on Todd's change to the motion? Can we just vote on that one since he amended it? All those in favor of Todd's amendment, can raise your right hand. And it is unanimous. Our second item is discussion of the landscape ordinance modifications. Town Administrator Rachel Clayton.
Yes, Mayor, this is another item that I have for your all's discussion and input to town staff. I included in your packet a copy of the current landscape and tree ordinance. I also provided at the dais for you a portion of Chapter 154, Land Development Regulations, because we do have landscaping referenced a little in our development guidelines. Over close to a year now, I have heard from staff, I have heard from town council people, and we've had our own discussions about various things that need to be updated in our landscape ordinance. I've heard everything related to residential development, commercial development, and because it starts to become more frequent, I wanted to bring it all to you for a group conversation to talk about, do we want to look into making any changes into particularly the landscape and trees ordinance, which primarily addresses commercial. It does address subdivision, entrance, landscaping, that we could go ahead and do that now if that was council's decision. I incorporated the land development regulations mostly just as a reference so you all could see any land development ordinance changes would go to the Planning Commission for study. So handling the landscape and tree ordinance would be done by staff, and you all as council, it would not have to go to Planning Commission. So I wanted to see if there was anything in particular that council wanted staff to look at and what type of process you all would be interested in.
So did you want us to vote on this as a pending ordinance, so it would be in place as y'all worked on it and worked through it, and council could give their input and stuff too?
So that is certainly an option, and I would defer to Brad with that. What I've provided for you is the current ordinance. It's not redlined in any way. Brad would have to advise on the motion.
On the pending ordinance, you can do that, but what you're gonna need to have something that's pending. You know, if they say, okay, what's pending? What am I gonna be held to? You're gonna need to enumerate that or illustrate it, something I would.
Okay, so right now, basically, you want us to throw you some ideas for y'all to, or say we are interested in you working on this and let y'all bring some stuff back. I know you've heard from myself and I think Councilmember Lyle and I don't know who else about some berms. And
Yep.
either not clear cutting buffer areas when you're doing developments and that type of stuff. I know that another thing that I'd like to see is when you're requiring trees on commercial properties, that we make sure we're putting them somewhere so Dominion's not butchering them up under power lines. That something needs to be done there.
I think the buffering, like we talked about, is kind of entirely down any entryway from a neighborhood, any kind of a corridor, scenic corridor,
Yes.
anything that we can do to protect. I think, again, the berms, stuff like that.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
sorry, to Will's point, I'll jump in with you here. I do think the county has a solid ordinance when it comes to undisturbed buffering around corridors and how that relates to the street size and street categorization. So I would like for us to look at some protected undisturbed buffering for all development in that arena. I feel like we could upgrade our landscaping there. And it seems like there was one more thing that we really wanted to pursue, but I would like to, I'd like for someone to investigate that and bring us something back there.
Okay.
One thing, as you're looking at that, if you look at some of the new neighborhoods that they've done that are grossly over landscaped to where stuff's not gonna grow, we need to have something there to where that's not happening either. If you go out 378 towards Gilbert, Highway 1 towards Gilbert, a lot of those subdivisions are just packed in landscaping and it's not gonna live, it's gonna die. So you need to look at that to where we're not over landscaping, but we're doing a good job. And I think y'all can lay out some good plans, even maybe some good sample plans. What about scenic corridors?
That's what I was talking about, those corridors. the buffering on those corridors
But we
based
gotta
on.
mark them of what they are in our community, in our town too.
Yeah, it's primarily based on the street categorization. But to the mayor's point, I would agree. I think that's probably justifies us talking to a few landscape architects to give us some proposals and some ideas about what that sustainable landscape buffer should look like in scenarios where you do have to provide the buffer where it's not undisturbed.
Madam Mayor, I've talked with staff, and I'd like for y'all to look into, and I'm gonna use my neighborhood as a reference. We have a number of utility roads in that community, and I have heard from probably a dozen of my neighbors, those roads need some sort of screening. They're gravel that's basically just been thrown down. I've been asked by neighbors, could we require paving for that? Could we require some sort of better screening or buffering? Just so that it's not in a nicely manicured, well-maintained neighborhood, you have just this random gravel road that's got weeds growing all through it. So is there something that we could require for that, or a better way that we could do that?
Maybe buffering, but how do you justify paving something like that when we can't pave the roads that people drive on every day, all day?
Well, we
It's
could
my
require
thought.
the developers to do that, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe over in Saluda River Club, all of their access roads are paved. They're not gravel. They're very nicely done and blend into the community.
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
That's a county development, but we can
I'm
look
sure
at it.
you can talk to Andy. White.
Absolutely, yeah.
The other thing that I noticed in section 156, I guess subsection 3.4, item G basically excludes parking garages.
I noticed that. I thought it excluded the top level.
The top and the bottom level.
Okay.
I personally don't like that provision. I think if we're building a parking garage, I don't understand why the top and the bottom will be excluded, but every other middle level would be. Maybe there is a reason for that I just don't understand. But I would like. All parking spaces on the lower level shall be exempt, and the upper level of the parking level should be exempt from subsection B of the section. If you could just look into the parking
Absolutely.
garage, that stood out to me.
And then Rachel, if we could some way, for me, if we could find some way to amend the ordinance that on a staff level, if the piece of property does not fit 20 trees, although the square footage says 20 trees, that we don't just cram 20 trees in. There's a lot of overplanting in some of these subdivisions, but there's also some businesses that I've noticed that the trees are overplanted because they tried to corral them all into one area.
Maybe there's a fund they can pay back in because that is a big global thing that they're doing, especially in Columbia right now, of trees trying to cool the earth down with planting more trees, towns. There's a lot of drive there to do that. So maybe it's a fund that they can pay in where trees can be planted somewhere else where needed or something. I think we used to do that a long time ago. Yes, I think we used to do it, pay into the tree fund if you couldn't put them on your property where they were not right up under each other. And I think they should.
Pardon me to interrupt.
I think they should be spread out too and given plenty of room to grow.
The tree fund is referenced in the ordinance, but we'd have to take a look at what
Okay.
the status is. We can.
I think you've got a big job to look through all of it.
Yep, I think so too.
So this, you just wanted us to give you some input for you to get started?
Yes.
And is there anybody else that's got any other input for her?
I've got two questions. Also, in the same section I referenced earlier, I guess subsection A references the number of trees that are required in parking lots. Could we, and I'll be the first to admit I got lost in the legal jargon, could we just verify that when parking lots are redone or brought up, resurfaced or reconfigured, I don't know the right term, make sure that they're required to come up with that code there? Because there's, I won't call anyone out, but a particular parking lot in town that has about 1,000 parking spots, and they definitely don't have a tree for every 8 spots. So could we just make sure that when they make improvements to their parking spots, or parking lot that they're required to come up to the code with that, or could we look into that? And then my second question is, I have no clue if we're able to do this or not. I'm still digging into it, and maybe Brad could help me with this. Could we use our landscaping and tree ordinance to require power lines to be underground when they are redone, or, say a power line falls, we require that they have to be put underground moving forward? Could we use this ordinance to do that in any way? Or could we look into that at least? Okay.
Residential, if I may, residential properties, they're already required to go underground.
Right.
On business properties, new businesses, they're required to go underground at the property line, and then from that point underground to the building.
What about the power providers, though? Like, say Dominion has a line that falls. Can we not use our landscaping and tree ordinance to require them to put that line underground?
I don't know. We'd have to look at that. Something's telling me no.
Franchise agreement.
There's a franchise agreement that might address that.
Okay. Yeah.
But it would need to be reviewed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just appreciate you looking into that. Thank you.
Anything else?
No,
So
ma'am.
this one, you don't need a motion or anything for it to go on there. No, because she'll bring it back to the work session if she's got something to bring back. If not, she'll bring it back in December. No, November. Next month's October, so. If you have something, if not, you'll bring it
Okay.
November's work session.
Um,
Because if you got a lot of people to talk to, it may not be ready in a couple of weeks.
You're right. We'll take a look at that.
Okay. You might could bring some of it back.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Just for clarity, are we getting the planning commission's insight on this?
It will go through the planning commission, won't it?
This isn't governed by the planning.
It doesn't have to. Okay.
Not this particular one.
Would council be interested in getting their insight on this?
Yes, we've had discussions with planning commission members about all these things, or I think we've all had informal discussions, so I think it would be good to narrow it down to some proposed changes, and then we could collaborate on those.
Just
We
let 'em-
can. Yeah, it's
let
not
'em look at
required,
it.
but we can. Correct.
Okay, to let them look at it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to area water providers addressing taste and odor issues with long-term solutions. This is just for information. Utilities Director David Wyman.
Putting David to work tonight.
Thank you.
Do it this
Thank you, David.
I think you're all aware of this, but this is just to catch you, update you. We got together with West Columbia and Joint Municipal, decided we were overdue for issuing a public statement alerting everyone to the taste and odor issues that we're having with our water. I'll just go ahead and read this to you. Area water providers addressing taste and odor concerns with long-term solutions. West Columbia and Lexington, South Carolina. Recent weather patterns, including high temperatures, heavier rainfalls, and increased runoff into Lake Murray, have led to more frequent algal blooms. While these blooms do not comprise the safety of drinking water, they can cause unpleasant changes in taste and odor. The City of West Columbia, the Town of Lexington, and the Joint Municipal Water and Sewer Commission continue collaborating to address these taste and odor concerns. Current water treatment methods are being used to mitigate this issue, though their effectiveness has limitations. Customers can improve the taste and odor by pouring tap water into a pitcher and refrigerating it overnight. In 2020, West Columbia, Lexington, and Joint Municipal began working with industry experts and the South Carolina Department of Environmental Services to explore various solutions. This evaluation included water quality monitoring and treatment technology evaluations. The solution incorporated into the Lake Murray water treatment plant expansion. This includes a $40 million investment in ozone technology specifically designed to address taste and odor issues. Ozone treatment will break down compounds that cause earthy tastes and smells, and it also has the added benefit of killing viruses and bacteria without additional chemicals. Once operational, the upgraded Lake Murray water treatment facility will be one of only 5 in South Carolina and the only one in the Midlands to utilize ozone technology. And then we list all the customer care for each utility.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Madam Mayor, David, is this something that we deal with every year?
Yes, for the last 3-4 years or so.
Okay. At this time of the summer?
Correct, yep.
Sometimes it's a little longer than this, so this has actually been a shorter year, I think. I think it's been a shorter year, but.
Yeah,
but
we've gotten
usually-
some cooler weather lately that's helped out.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
this treatment facility, what is the ETA on that getting up and running?
Oh, good question. They, West Columbia just really got approval to move forward with phase 4. So by the time you're, I don't know, 18 months, give or take. I would
Hey,
imagine.
Will, the media number's right there.
Call them.
I'm just teasing.
You don't have
What?
all the answers, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. When I take you there, we can
Oh, there you
ask
go.
that.
That'll work.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Going back, actually to our earlier discussion, the test results for our water testing, are those, I know those are reported to what used to be DHEC. They busted up, I'm not sure what they're
Yeah,
called now.
DES now.
DES, all right, they lost, I can make all kind of jokes about that, better not.
That's right.
But we report that to DES, but is there other public reporting of that that's required of us? Or is it just all internal numbers, reports to them? And if something breaks a boundary, I know we have a public reporting requirement, but in general, do we have a public
We do.
reporting requirement?
Yep. So every year we send out they used to be called CCRs, Consumer Confidence Reports. Now they're Water Quality Reports. And that has all of our testing that we've done throughout the year.
So a full
and that
year's worth
gets
of
mailed.
test is printed and sent out to all our customers every year?
Correct. Yep.
Is that on our website anywhere?
Yes, those are on there. I'm planning to look at the utilities page and update that anyway and make sure all, we'll discuss with our transparency group how much detail we want to get into, whether we want all of the lab results. I can be probably, if we post the actual results, that'll be a lot of space, but certainly the results themselves will be on there.
Yeah, I don't think we want to bury people in data and make it
Yeah, I don't think
confusing,
so
but if
either.
there's an annualized report that we publish anyway,
Yeah, and those
as
are
long as that's
there.
on the website,
Yep.
that's perfect. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
All right.
Thank you, David.
Do you have anything else? We have any questions from the news media? Comments from the public?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
can I throw one more thing in? Y'all shoot me.
Go ahead.
Noise ordinance, chief. We had this discussion one time. We got more and more rednecks running up and down our roads with about 500 decibels coming out of
Did you
their
just say that?
exhaust pipes.
Go ahead.
I did. I'm a redneck. My office is right here on North Main, and at least twice a day, I've got some kind of car coming by there that's kind of rattling my windows. What is the fine for that currently in our noise ordinance? Because I know it's really hard to police, but I also know there's lots of business owners up and down Main Street and up and down North Lake. They're pretty frustrated by some of the straight pipes, headers, exhaust. Can you give us a load? Because if we're looking at the noise ordinance, I would like to look at that and try to figure out a solution.
Just like you said, it's hard to enforce, because to enforce it, that means I have to have every officer in every corner, and it's impossible to do that. What we usually do, we have, if people complain during what time it occurs, we'll have an officer post in the area to do it. The noise ordinance fine, I think, is over $1,000.
It's $1,087.50.
$1,087.50. And what we do if we find one, we had we had an attorney's office on 6 that was complaining on it. And we just have officers sit and rotate during those times when they're there, and we're able to enforce some of those violations. If it's happening, please call us and tell us when to be there, and we can be there. But that is just almost impossible to enforce at all times, because you have to have officers posted on every street.
Yeah, understood. I just wanted to make sure there was enough of a deterrent there. So it's $1,000 fine, and then is the individual required to show some kind of proof of bringing the car into compliance?
Yes, what usually happen, the officer write the ticket. If he brings the vehicle in compliance, we dismiss the ticket from there. So ticket is written, but it's just real hard. It's like speeding. Everybody says speeding on that street. We can't be there everywhere.
Right.
We'd like to be there, but we can't be there.
Next time my windows rattle, I'll try to remember what time it is. All right.
Well, yeah, because when you call, it's too late.
I know.
Chief, we ran into this neighborhood, again, in my neighborhood. We had an issue with not necessarily a car, but sound, and it was brought up. It was very hard to enforce because it was not the town, but the county, their officers didn't have a decibel reader. Do all of our officers have that, and is it required to?
Yeah, we have a decibel reading.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a decibel
And it's required, like in this instance, you would need that decibel reading to go to court, right?
Yeah, well, if when you hear loud noise, and that's enough probable cause for us to stop, and then we can say, hey, rev your car up, the decibel reader will be on the car. If it goes above the readings with the noise ordinance, we issue the ticket. If they come in compliance, we dismiss it.
Okay. I just want to make sure y'all had decibel readers.
Yes, we do. We're in the 21st century.
Thank you, Chief.
Anything else, Todd?
I'm good. That's
You're
it.
good, okay. Anything, did I ask staff? Anything from staff?
Nothing from
You have any any announcements, anything that we need to announce? Okay, so at this time, we're not actually adjourning from this meeting. We're going back into work session. Do I hear a motion?
Mayor, I make a motion we recess back into executive session.
Mayor Pro Tem makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Councilman Carm seconds it, and we're going back downstairs, I guess.